Hi, everyone. For those of you that don't know me or haven't seen my emails or anything, my name is Gus. I'm the growth manager here at Back4App. And today's webinar or live event, actually, we're going to be talking, well, Alex is going to be talking and showing us about how to do continuous integration between Back4App and GitHub. Today, we're going to do something a little bit different that if you guys would like. If you have a question at the end of the webinar, we're going to, if you like, of course, we're going to free up your microphone so you can ask your question live. And if you like, you can share your screen, and Alex will be answering all of your questions live on the spot. So Alex, no pressure, maybe just a little bit of pressure. Okay. Alison, you want to say anything else before we get started?
The idea here is first we want to share, of course, the content. Alex has a very interesting content. So after the content Alex have today to show us, let's make this more like a conversation between us. So feel free to raise your hand, to jump, open your camera to make the questions live, and yeah. I hope you guys enjoy the event. We have prepared very, very carefully for you. I'm passing the word for Alex.
Hey, hello everyone. It's very good to see you all onboarded this GitHub Actions integration with Back4App webinar. This is something some of you have been asked for a long time. We did one of these for Bitbucket in the past. I think it's a YouTube video in the channel, but so many of you asked to do for GitHub as well. So let me first tell you what this is not. This is not a very advanced guide on CI/CD, and we are not going to explore all the possibilities with GitHub because there are so many. You can do so many things with this tool. You can go as complex as you wish, and every single use case is a different one, so it wouldn't make sense for me to write a whole lot of content telling you how to do all the possibilities that you can do with this tool and then achieve just one or even non-users because your use case is different. So we decided to focus on the very basics, and from this, you will be able to start and evolve into your own GitHub Actions and workflows and make it work for you. And if at any point when you're building your actions and workflows, if you get yourself stuck, you can always schedule a meeting with me or perhaps ask a YouTube comment with your question, and we can record videos about this as well. So hopefully you guys will understand this, and why I didn't go too deep into this is because every single use case is one different one, and I want to reach as much people as possible. All right, so let me start by sharing my screen with you guys. Can everyone see my screen? It's a big black screen with a now it
Yep,
should
we can
be
see it.
Yeah. Can everyone see it? Yeah. All right. So the very basics for integrating Back4App with anything. When I mean integrating, I mean in a administration level. So you can do more of administration tasks in Back4App is the CLI. The CLI stands for Command Line Interface, and it's a program that you can download and install into your computer or into your servers, and it will allow you to control the Back4App account through this program. So you can write logic and operate basically any administration tasks using this tool. If you got this installed already, all you have to do is type B4A, for instance, version. and it will display a version in here. If you don't have the before-a command, there is a link for the installation in the documentation part of the website of Back4App. You can download. We support practically all platforms that I know of, so you can do that in, it doesn't matter in which operational system you are. And if you type before-a help, it will display all the possible commands that you have. So you can add new apps, you can configure Cloud Code functions, you can configure your parse server, you can deploy new code for Cloud Code section, you can execute Cloud Code functions, download stuff, create new projects, release, delete old projects. So basically anything administrational related in Back4App can be done with this task. For instance, if I type before-a new, it will ask me if I want to create a new project starting from scratch in Back4App, or if I have one existing project in Back4App, if I want to bring that to my computer. So for instance, let's create existing one. It will list all my apps that I have here in this Back4App account. And I can just type the number that I want. For instance, I think this one is CI/CD, but I think I already have that one. Let me open another tab. So go to my desktop. And I already have CI/CD. Let's remove that. Now I don't have it anymore. Let's Control-C this. Let's go to my desktop. Before-a new. It's again, existing project. I want to use the CI/CD, number 2. It asks me for a directory name. If I leave it open, it will use the default one. It asks me if it's a blank project or if I want to retrieve some code, I'll just hit enter. And now I should have my CI/CD folder back in there. So inside this folder, I have 2 other folders, the cloud folder and the public folder. The cloud folder is meant for you to store all your cloud code files and codes. So if I enter the cloud folder and list my files, you'll see my main.js file is in there. I can write code in here in my local machine, test it locally, and once I have it all done and I want to deploy to Back4App, all I have to do is type before-a deploy. This will make a comparison of my actual code in Back4App and the one in my machine and upload the differences. So only the differences will be sent to Back4App. This tool is very efficient and it will automatically version your code as well. And I'm going through all this so you can understand exactly why the CLI is important when using the GitHub Actions, or as we did in Bitbucket as well, because this is the tool that will do most of the task for us. And if I go one step back and enter the public folder, in here, you'll find my index.html file that will be hosted when you have the Back4App hosting enabled. And in here, you should upload all the static contents of your application. So image files, JavaScript files for the website, HTML files, CSS files should be in here. And it will also be uploaded when you type before-a deploy. On the very first run of the CLI, you have to configure it. You configure it by typing before-a configure account key. Mine is already configured, but when you hit enter, it will ask you for an account key, and you'll find your account key here in your account. Here is my username. You have the account key sections in there. Once you click there, you see I have the account key that I configured for this session. You can remove it by clicking this X over here. And if you want to add a new one, all you have to do is put it in here, give it a good name. So let's create one for Gus. Click plus. And now I have my CI/CD one here and the Gus here. This is useful because you can create multiple account keys for every single developer that works in your specific project. And if at some point one developer does not need to access this application anymore, perhaps they leave the company or start working for a different project, but they don't need to access this specific project or account anymore, all you have to do is to remove their access from here, and they will not be able to use the CLI anymore. This is also useful if this account key is compromised. You can always remove the one from here and redeploy a new one with your CI/CD workflow. But once this is configured, we will be able, as you saw, to operate your Back4App account using only this piece of information. And the strategy that we'll be using is running the CLI from a Docker container that will be deployed to GitHub or Bitbucket. And inside that container, we already have the Back4App CLI installed, because the installation process is very, very simple. It's just a line of command that you must run, but it takes a little bit of time to download and install everything, and we want to accelerate this process as much as possible. This is why here in the Docker Hub is hub.docker.com. If you search for Back4App, you will end up in this screen that I am right now, where we have two distinct CLIs. One for 32-bit systems. These are for all those of you who are running into legacy systems, very old computers, and they need 32 bits for any reason. You should use this one. And for those of you running more modern systems, you should use this one here. This is a Linux container with the CLI installed but not configured. And then you have to configure it by attaching your account key to it. And you'll be able to operate your Back4App account from this container. And this is the basis that will be run into GitHub to execute all the commands that you want. Now, with that in hand, we have to create our GitHub project that will have our actions. And I created this test CI/CD here. It's inside my personal account. This is an open project, so all of you can access and download, but it's a very basic one. And there are a few files that we have to create in here in order to GitHub to understand those files and execute our Docker container, then execute its commands. The first one is what we call the Docker file, and I have this open in my Visual Studio here. This is the exact same project that I have in GitHub, so those are exactly the same files. The Docker file is a file that configures the Docker container that will be running to execute our tasks. And we have to set an image to start a Docker container. You can use Docker Composer to create your one, but as we have one already created and configured for Back4App, it's much easier to use that one. This is in the line number 2 here. So from, and then the container name that I have, which is Back4App / before a _ CLI. You get this from the name in the Docker Hub website. It is right here. All you have to do is to copy this name and paste it in there, and you're good to go. Then you have semicolon and then the version of the container. The version of container may change over time as we add new software or perhaps update software versions. And my recommendation is to always use the latest one. But if you need a specific one for any reason, all you have to do is to change this latest keyword for the version that you want, and you're good to go. Then we have the script that will be run on the first time the container is run. You've got to understand that the container running to deploy our software in this CI/CD action is run just once. So it starts the container, run all the tasks inside it, and kills the container. It's not something that will be eternally available, running something that you can call at any time. It's just a machine that turns on, executes, and turns off. And in here, we have to copy what we call the entry point script. The entry point script is a script in Linux bash language that will be executed every time the machine raises up. So we are going to copy the entry point.sh. Sh is a termination for shell script files. This must be an executable file in Linux. So if you don't make it executable, it won't work. And in here, inside the script, you can put as much code as you need in order for you to do whatever you want to do. So for instance, if you can have programs installed from inside the entry point, you can call other scripts, you can gather system variables, you can download files, you name it. Everything that you can do manually in a Linux system, you can do using a shell script file. And this is the shell script file that we're going to create. It's called entrypoint.sh, and it's going to be copied to the root file system of our container. This is why I have the / encryptpoint.sh. So it's going to copy the entrypoint.sh file from my repository to the main directory in my Linux machine with the name entrypoint.sh. And when it has finished copying this file, it will execute it by running entry point and then / entrypoint.sh, which is the string that we have up here. Now let's take a look into this file, the entrypoint.sh. As I said, is just a bash script file. So it's going to have the in the first line the link for the shell that I'm using. In this specific case, I'm using sh, not bash, but sh. Then it's going to print, hello, your app ID is, and the variable number 1 that I'll be passing to my container. So everything that I pass to my container is going to be printed in here in order, broken by spaces. And in this case, I'm just passing one variable, so variable number 1 is what I'm going to pass. Then I'm going to retrieve the time date of the system, is the time system of the container. And then I'm going to print out that time system. Now, we've got our container and our script file that are going to do the tasks inside our container. But in order to GitHub to understand and run this in a specific way, we have to create our action file. Our action file is going to be a YAML file, YAML formatted file, that contains all the inputs and outputs that I want to send or retrieve from this action. And I have here my action file. Remember, guys, all this is available in my personal repository. So after this, you can just go there and copy it. You have to use to change a few things before you use it in your own repository. I'll show you what you have to change first. But this is mainly what you have to do. So in here, you have a name for this action. So I have hello world back for app. A description, what this action does. And you want to be really verbose in this description, so anyone running the action will know exactly what this action does and what does not do. So most people just skip the description, but this is very bad because new developers trying to run this action won't know exactly the steps it does. So take your time, write a good description. It will help your developers over time. Then we have the inputs section. The input sections is everything that will be collected from system and sent to the container. And in this case, I'm sending my app ID. You can put here any variable name that you want. In my case, I put app ID, but you can name as many as you want and name whatever you want. Then you can have a description for this, once again, to help your developers to populate the information accordingly. If it is required or not. If it is required and you don't pass it, it sorry for that, it will and since I just lost my voice, sorry for that. If it is required and it doesn't, oh sorry guys, I just lost my voice. Just 1 second, please.
It's all right, Alex. It happens when we're live, you know? No cuts.
No. Gus, do Do you want to talk a little bit while I recover my voice?
Yes, absolutely. So,
Thank you for that.
Yep, not a problem. Does anybody have any questions so far that you like to ask while Alex recovers? If you guys want to, I'll unmute your microphones. You guys can ask away, or if you like, you can just type in our chat box. Let me see here. Let me unmute everyone. Joseph.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you, Joseph. Hi, guys.
Yeah. So one thing we have GitHub Actions pushing our application to the back for app, but we have to do kind of some magic to get the API key registered for the B for A command. And I was wondering if you guys had a recommended way to do that.
All right, I'm going to try my voice and answer that. So let me first ask the question that Joseph did in the chat, if I'm going to pass the API key to the B4A CLI. And in this specific example today, not, but in a production environment, you probably won't, okay? So this is why how you are going to pass the account key to the container. Or you can create your own container containing your key built in. I don't recommend that for security reasons, but it's your application, you do the way you like it. And I'm sorry, who just asked? Just got lost your name. Is Eric?
It was Joseph.
Joseph. Oh, hi Joseph.
Hi, Alex.
Yeah. So when you configure the CLI, it creates a file that has the key inside your file system. So one of the approaches is to override that file in the file system. I myself don't like that.
That's what we do. We just kind of splat that file in the file system so it's configured.
Yeah, I myself don't like that very much. I prefer to use a script to write, to configure the CLI for me. This is something the current CLI does not have, and we are aware that it makes it more difficult to configure. So Davi, our CEO, is actually writing a new version of the CLI, and we will support sending as a system parameter. So this is going to be fixed soon. But today, with the CLI that we have available, there are only two ways to achieve that. One is writing to the file system, which you said you are doing today. And the other one is having a more complex shell script that will configure it through the CLI for you, which in the very end finishes in the exact same way, because the CLI will also write to the file system. So I myself like the shell script a little bit more. But there's nothing wrong doing the way you're doing it, as we have the CLI limited for this kind of functionality today. So if it's working for you right now, I would keep it like that until we have the new CLI coming out.
Cool. Thank you for answering it.
Yeah, all right. And if you want my script for changing it through this CLI, I can send it to you. But once again, in the very end, is exactly the same thing. It will write to the.
We'll just keep it the same until the new version comes out. So thank you, Dave.
Yeah, I spoke to David today, and he said he is working on it, but hopefully we will have it out soon. And it will be in JavaScript, which in my opinion is much better because it's easier to understand what it's doing. All right. Shall we try again, since my voice seems to be back? All right, guys. So required true. If you have a input that is required as true and you don't pass it, you won't have your action to execute truly. And then you can set a default value for this. I put this non-given. And so every time I don't send a value, and since it is a required one, it will assume this one in there. And then we have the outputs. My output is going to be named time. And the description is the time the container has received my action call. And then it's going to run using my Docker file with the arguments that I have in here. In this case, inputs. Remember, I have the input section in there, and then my variable name, in my case, the app ID. Then you have to upload all this to GitHub with git push, and you're good to go. So once all these are in GitHub, you have to create a directory here in the structure of your project. It is .github. For those of you who are not aware, the dot in the Linux systems means a hidden file or folder. So this will be a hidden folder, but it's showing in my file system here in Visual Studio because it works like that. And the workflows subfolder is where we are going to write, once again, a YAML file that will be our workflow file. It will use our action file to take some steps and then run our full CI/CD workflow. So I have it open right here. So the first thing is the on parameter. The on parameter is exactly on which actions on GitHub this workflow will be triggered. In my case, I put push. So every time I push new code to GitHub, it will create a new GitHub action for me. You can have multiple ones, so you can create a new action for instance, every time you open a pull request, or perhaps every time you merge into a specific branch. So you have to go through the GitHub documentation to understand the possible events that you can trigger your workflows. And then you have the job sections, which is our actual workflow. So here is my hello world job. This is a name that you can give any name. Runs on. This is the runner of your CI/CD workflow. This is not the container in Docker that we just run. Remember, the Backfrap container runs a specific version of Linux. If I'm not wrong, it is Ubuntu, and here I'm using the Ubuntu latest, but it's not the same thing. The container runs a Ubuntu with the Backfrap CLI already configured in it, and this is the runner. This is the piece of containerized applications that will run in GitHub, raising up our Docker container. This is useful because most of the times you have GitHub has to serve so many people with so many different languages and so many different technologies and even architectures. So they have multiple runners, so you can spin up your container using a runner specific for the architecture that you want. So for instance, if you have a very distinct architecture, let's say a Apple architecture, you can spin up a runner using a Apple silicon in there. Then you have the name. This is one string that will be the name for the job that runs into your workflow. You can have multiple jobs inside the same workflow, so you have to name every single one. And then finally, the steps. The steps is what exactly are going to happen in the specific order that it's going to happen. So my first step is named Hello World Action Step. My ID for this is hello, and the ID is very important because when you have some phases inside your CI/CD flow that depends on the completion of another phase, you can use this ID to identify if that prior phase finished successfully or not prior to starting the second one. So always set the ID for the steps that you want to track. Then uses. And in here, this is the section that you guys will want to change, because even if you copy my code, this is a open repository, so it will just work for you guys. But in here, if you change this into your repository and you want to use your version, you have to put your username and then your project in here. And in my case, I'm using version 1. But if you leave this open and change the code in your repository and tell GitHub to execute the action, it will execute my action from my repository here. So keep a look into that. And this I'm going to pass in the variables that I'm sending. As you probably remember, in here I said I'm going to send an input called app ID. So in here I set my app ID as a string telling this is my app ID. And then I'm going to have another step which retrieves the output time of my system. So it will retrieve the app ID, print it out, and then print out the time of the system. And then this will run a Linux command, which is echo. Echo prints a string to the console. And then the string will be the time was, and then steps hello outputs time. Remember here I have my my outputs, the time that I defined. So this is pretty much what it's going to do. So from now on, what I expect is every time I push something new into my repository, it will create a new GitHub action for me. So we can test this out. I tested this before, it did work, let me show you guys, but I'm not really sure it's going to work again because I have this lucky feeling every time I do something in production, it doesn't work at first, but in here I have evidence it worked. So let me walk you through this evidence first, and then we can try to run it. So once you open it, here is my job. So I jump to say hello. And in here are all the steps that are done into my job. So you can open up every single one of these. If I can click it, for some reason it's not expanding, as I said. Usually, oh, there we go. I have to perhaps click here. Come on, it's loading. Come on, GitHub, we have a lot of people watching. You know what? I'm in a different account. This is why it's taking so long. I have my own account here. Let me open it. Oops. GitHub.com. Pull this window here. And in here, we can probably find it. So there you go. Actions. Open this one up. Oh, here I can expand it. There you go. So here are the logs for setting up the job. So as you can see, it's using Ubuntu 20, then running my image in here. I have a GitHub token permissions. So this is all very detailed. You can dig in all the information that you want to understand if it worked and if it not, why. So here is building the CLI, building my container. It's pulling the back for app before a CLI container. So all the logs from Docker are here. The copy of the entry point file is there, and then executing the entry point is there as well. Then my action, it was run with this big command here, and here is my output. Hello, your app ID is, this is my app ID. And then my output, which is running the echo, time was like this, and then here's the output, and then the complete job, cleaning up orphan processes, which means my job executed properly. So let's try to add a new file in there and push it in, see it is going to create a new action for me. So new file. This is a test file. I'm going to save this as it's not into the workflow. I want it to be in the main. Should do. There we go. Here's my test file. Git status. My test file is there, so git add test file. Will it work? Oh, I didn't commit it.
Like they're in the wrong directory. You must go back to.
Oh, yeah, I think that's exactly it. Thank you, Charlitos. Oh, there you go. Thank you. There we go. Now let's jump back to GitHub. In my actions, there you go. Added test file, and then we can open it. It is just started. So every time it starts, I can have this action executing. And now I can check it up the logs once again. There we go. This is my app ID and the output time, which is 2038 UTC. So that's it, guys. That's what I prepared for today. As I said, this is a very basic operation, but since you are able to rewrite this entry point sh file, you will be able to deploy anything and do any kind of operations inside here. And these shell scripts can get as complex as you want. So if you, once again, if you want to download software, install software, perhaps make checks on your code prior to deploying it, you can do it already in here, including calling other shell scripts. And this is pretty much it, guys. So I think we can open for questions now.
Hi, guys. Yeah, so everybody is, your microphone is now available. So if you want to ask a question, I think Eric has a question. Go ahead, Eric.
No, I wanted to see where the project was. I found it. So I haven't pushed my project up to GitHub yet. I was going to be, it was funny. I was going to be doing it this afternoon and I was checking my emails and I saw this. I said, oh, that's kind of fortuitous. So
Oh, good that it worked for you, man.
yeah,
And
no,
please remember, this is very basics, but if
yeah.
you need some assistance, you can always schedule a time with me. We can go together for
Okay.
configuring the CLI inside the containers. And this is for all of you guys. If you need assistance with this, or if you have questions, you can schedule calls with me or send, one of the easiest ways is to send YouTube questions, because I check YouTube questions 3 times a day, every day. So just drop your question in there. We can chat and I will help you configure anything that you need.
Okay. Sounds good.
Let me send my personal GitHub here in the chat, so anyone who needs to copy clone this code will be able to. How do I send it to everyone? Everyone, there you go. So it is here inside the chat. So all you have to do is clone this repository, and please remember, oh, there we go again. So sorry for this. You have to change this uses in here to your own user and repo, or it will call my code from my user and repo, okay? This is the only thing you have to change. Do you have any other questions? It doesn't have to be related to this. If it's related to Back4App or anything, actually, just give your question. We will try to answer the best we can.
Yeah, Alex, if you didn't mind, also I can share your GitHub with everybody through on email on Monday when we send out the recordings for the webinar, for the video.
Sounds great. I think it might be better if I create a new one official for Back4App, and then we can share that one. It will look more professional.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, no other questions, guys?
No, I'm good. This was like gravy because I was actually going to be looking up some information. It just so happens. I mean, I want to say it was 15 minutes before the webinar started. I went, oh, there's a sign. So I jumped on. So I'm good to go.
That is great. I'm really helpful. I'm really glad it was helpful
Yes.
some way to you, man.
Yeah. My weekend will be a little bit easier.
That's always a plus.
Something that I think it's really cool. Everything that I showed you here today, guys, it's how you do this manually so you can understand what exactly is going on every single step. But GitHub has a assistant that you can click and it will be building those for you. All you have to do is go to the actions page of your repository, and it has many different already built in actions that you can just use. Or if you need to create a new one, it has an assistant that will guide you through this process. In the very, very end, you will end up with a structure just like this. But I think as a technical webinar, it will be better to see how it works behind the scenes instead of just having a next finish kind of thing. And another thing that might interest you is that I spoke to Davi and Alison today, and there are so many people asking for this kind of information that we will be publishing a GitHub action official for Back4App in GitHub soon. So you don't have to do all this manually. It will be in the GitHub store. You can just go in there, install into your GitHub account, and you'll be good to go. So you don't have to configure it manually, everything.
That'll be awesome.
All right, guys. So any raising hands? No? So from my side, that's pretty much it, guys. As I said, I want to keep it as simple as possible so people who never saw this could understand. But if you're interested, we can produce a more complex action and workflow for those of you who are interested. So if you want that, please just, once again, leave a YouTube comment or send a message to our support. It will always reach me, and we can create webinars on any theme that you want, guys. One thing that I really like about being a Back4App employee is that we focus on trying to do whatever the users tell us they need. So if you find the need for anything specific to make your application running better, just drop me a message. We'll take a look into it with our hearts and make our best efforts to make it happen to you.
All right, guys. Well, thank you everyone for taking part in the webinar. Alex, thank you very much. That was very insightful. Charles, Alison, thank you very much, you guys. And on Monday, we'll get the recording out to you guys. And I look forward to hearing back from you guys again. Bye, guys.
All righty.
Take care.
All right. Take it easy. Have a great weekend and good holiday.
Thank you all. Have a great week.
Thank you everyone for joining. Have a great weekend, and sorry for my voice.
No, you're good. Bye-bye.
You guys, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.